Morning everyone, I hope you're all well. I'm very sorry it's now been a month since I put my last video out, but we've sort of had a few things in between. We got Christmas done and out of the way, moved into the new year, and then we had a sort of traditional spell of rubbish weather, snow, ice, sleet, cold mornings, rough seas, horrendous winds, and it's been like that literally for 3 weeks. We've still got sort of nasty easterly winds at the moment. Not quite sure how that's going to affect today's prospects, but I needed to get out. I'll get a bit stir crazy sat at home. There's only so much tidying up and sorting of gear you can do. That's all done now, and I'm ready to get back out and start fishing. So I've got a little weather window next couple of days. It's still bitterly cold. It's about 2.5, 3 degrees this morning in the car on the way. And so what I've decided to do, I'm just going to pop along to Norfolk, half an hour away from home, and I'm going to give Cromer Pier a try this morning. Now, as with all around our coast at this time of the year, it's very hard fishing. It's scratching basically for whatever you can catch. So not really sure what sort of species we're going to pick up today. It's going to probably be the two main candidates for this time of the year, which are going to be whiting and dabs. But being on the pier, I suppose you never know. There's always a chance of a little surprise off the pier. I know a lot of sort of YouTubers and anglers, especially local to me in Norfolk, Suffolk, are all saying the same thing. It's very scratchy, very patchy and very poor. In fact, quite a few of them have been out trying these various different marks for something a little bit different, say a flounder, something like that, even the dab fishing, and coming up with a blank. So we've not really been missing much. So the plan is now, I'm just entering Cromer. I'm about 5 minutes away from where I'm going to park. So I'll show you the free parking, and I'll also show you the alternatives if you can't get in these free spots. As I say, in this time of year I should be able to get parked. In the summer the spots tend to be full most of the time, even overnight, because of the number of guest houses that are along the front there. They all use the free parking area opposite the guest houses, and that's where I'm going to be parking. So but another 5 minutes I'll be there, and then I'll bring you back and show you the setup. So this is the side of the road parking opposite all the guest houses. And lucky enough, I've found a little space here to squeeze in. Yeah, so once you come into Cromer, you sort of follow the road round onto the coast road, heading towards West Runton, and then you'll come a complete left turn just as you come out of the town centre. As you come up to the seafront here, and as you head along here, this is all the on-road parking. You see there's quite a bit up there. It goes quite a way up to the top of that hill up there. Just about where that lorry is up there now with the lights on the left, there is a pay and display car park. I do believe that's quite expensive. So you are much better trying to find one of these side of the road bays here, where it's free parking, unrestricted. So from there, straight up the little ramp here, onto the top promenade, this is. And this is where you get your first sort of view of the sea. As you can see, still a bit lively. And I can straight away feel that cutting easterly wind coming down there. So that might determine the position where I fish on the pier today. So I'll try and tuck out the wind. I'm obviously travelling ultra light this morning. I've literally got my box, my rod and a bucket. So I've been able to cut down on stuff like tripods, various other bits and pieces. I've lightened the box right off to the bare minimum what I need. Took out most of my leads, just brought a few I will need. Yeah, and it's about 5 minute walk, I suppose, down to the pier. Obviously, with regards to facilities and things like that for Cromer, you have got plenty of shops up the top here in the town centre. You've got a garage just over there with a Morrison's Daily, so you'll be able to get all sorts of food and drink items there. Fish and chip shop directly in front of me there, and you've got various other shops and whatever you're down there straight into the town centre. It's literally a 2-minute walk up there and you're in the town centre. I'm going to take the left turn here down the steps onto the lower promenade. If you want to take the slope, you can walk down there if you don't fancy these steps. This is literally a small couple of flights of steps and you're down on the lower promenade. Very easy on the way down, not quite so easy on the way back. Especially for me, getting on in my years. Picture of a stag there, I don't know what that's all about. Right, that's it, we're down onto the lower promenade now. Again, in the summer, you're going to be wall-to-wall people down here. You've got amusements, candy floss, ice cream and all that sort of stuff. And this is part of all the new sea defences they put in last summer to make that bit more of a barrier to the sea. We get some absolutely spectacular storms along here, and when that happens you get the water coming right over the top onto this prom. So yep, just head to the pier now. So straight along the prom and up to the entrance. It's all decent pavements along here, it's all been redone. Straight into the pier. There's no restrictions, it's open 24/7. We have got a set of toilets just here on the right, public toilets. I'm not sure if they're open all night, but obviously someone's been and opened them this morning, if not. So that's the east side of the pier. Over there is all the fishing boats. The Rocket House Cafe over there. This part of the railings here, as you can see, it's going to be wall to wall youngsters all trying to catch the crabs. They sell all the equipment you need for that in all the gift shops, toy shops, etc. And many people, it's probably their first time of actually fishing, if you can call it that. Plenty of seating. I'm not expecting it to be too packed this time of the year. Obviously you've got the massive Cromer Pier Pavilion stroke entertainment centre in there, where they do a massive end of the pier show. Runs all summer and Christmas events and all sorts. It gets quite busy. As you can see, there's a little bit more scaffolding here where they're doing some work. Now when I came in the summer, we fished this part here. You can see they've even provided a little bait table there for cutting up baits and for people doing the crabbing. Initially this would have been my preferred spot, this side, fishing out into that water, but with that little easterly cutting along there, I might even have a look around the other side just to see if there's a little bit more shelter. That's the famous Cromer lifeboat. And it's a sort of duplicate on this side as well, exactly the same. And there's a little bit of scaffolding around here, so I'm probably going to be restricted to fishing round where I was there. Safety restrictions here, so you must not cast anywhere within the hatched, which is basically towards the end of the structure there. Casting out that way, you'll probably be okay. Potentially I can set up just here on the corner, fish down there. I'm not quite sure what the snags are going to be. I don't think there's much advantage really today with that wind cutting through there. If I can get tight up against this wall with my back to it, I shall probably have a go at that. So as you can see from that, that is how light I've travelled today. Literally my box, that's got my bait station thing, bucket with a few leads in, and the rod. Now you don't need a rod rest here because you can actually use the railings. All I would say is you've got to be a bit careful propping a rod up on the railings. Probably not so much this time of the year because there's not going to be so many big fish, but you do get a run of smooth hounds through here in the summer, and if you're not careful and your rod's not anchored, that's going over the side. So bear that in mind. In the summer months when the bigger bass and the smooth hounds are about, make sure your rod's well anchored to the railings using some sort of strap or rubber bungee or something. Okay, I quickly just got a rig out, and this morning I'm going to start off with a simple little one up and one down. So that's one above the weight and one below. I've got size 4 hooks on there, and as you can see I've just baited them both up with a little bit of frozen blacks, whipped on and tipped with a tiny little bit of mackerel. And that's basically the baits for today. So I've packed there of frozen blacks, thawing out nicely. I've got a fillet of mackerel and a few little bits of squid in there just for tipping. I might try straight squid as well. But that's going to be the starting gambit. One up, one down. Next job's to get that out. Okay, I'm not quite sure where the snags are on this side. I know that the nearer the pier you do get a few snags directly down. So what I'm going to do is just rig this and cast it away from the pier a bit and see how we go. If we start getting snagged up, then I can change where I'm putting it. As I said before, the rules and regs on here are you must not cast out towards the lifeboat station, but for today I'm going away from it anyway. So just a gentle little lob, feel it down, and then set the rod. Now I'm going to set it quite a way back so not all the tip is hanging over the side, and that'll do for starters. Tidy up my bits and pieces here so I haven't got gear lying around everywhere. Let's see what that brings. So the actual setup on the pier is quite comfortable fishing once you're here, and as I say, you can bring a minimum amount of gear, probably a little rucksack. You don't need a rod rest, as you can see. My advice would be to keep the butt with the reel on out of the walkway, because you're going to get people up and down here. Even today I've had half a dozen people through here with dogs and on their little walks and stuff. So the warmer it gets, the more people you're going to get. So keep your tackle out the way, the same as with all your stuff on the side here. Keep it well backed so you're not sort of obstructing and tripping anyone up, if you like. Keep everyone happy then. So species this time of the year, so I think I said on the way up, probably whiting and dabs. You might be a little surprised of something else. I know they've been getting once we move into the spring, you can then add on to that. The dogfish will turn up. You'll obviously be able to catch a few bass off of here. Used to be a very good bass fishing straight down underneath the pier. But as I say, with all the snags and loose bits of line under there, you're probably risking losing a bit of gear if you're fishing straight down. You're also going to get smooth hounds off of here in the summer months, and the only thing I would say with that is you need to be prepared if you're going to come here and expect to catch smooth hounds. You're probably going to need yourself a drop net, because you get a half decent smooth hound hanging the length of the pier on your leader. You've then got to either handball it up and hope it don't drop off, or you're going to lose it. So a little drop net will be worth sharing with someone maybe. If you haven't got one and you do hook a decent fish, normally you'll find someone about who's got one. They'll probably lend it to you for the landing of the fish. In the summer months, I would probably come late at night and maybe fish overnight, and fish till first light in the morning, then go home. That way you're probably going to have the pier to yourself, maybe another angler or two. I certainly wouldn't attempt to fish during the day in the summer. There's too many distractions on here. My back is on the wall of the pub, so you could technically be sitting out here with a pint in your hand fishing, which sounds good. Okay, so by the time I'd walked down to the pier, it was just after 8 o'clock this morning, and I got my first cast out just around 8:30. I've got shown on my phone as about 3 hours now to high water. So the plan is going to be to fish it up to high water and see where we're going. Off the bottom. Nothing on there. Now, one thing I will say is today you'll notice probably I'm using one of my Conti rods, and it's 14 foot long. Now, in an ideal world, you don't really want to be fishing with these long rods on the pier, so it just makes things a little bit more awkward. A shorter rod, 11 or 12 foot, would be much better. Let's check those baits. Right, and I'm going to replace the fish on the bottom one with a fresh piece, just to keep that scent trail up. I'm going to pop that back out, maybe a little bit further this time. Obviously, when there's people about, try not to put your gear on the pier so you can use the pier to your advantage. Well, felt that down. Tuck it in there and tighten up. Yeah, definitely an 11 or 12 foot rod would be much more suitable for the pier. It won't look so cumbersome, take up as much room. The reason I put that one in is because if I'd got here and it was unfishable and I had to move somewhere else, I've obviously got the rod that I can be able to do that with. I've also got a rod rest in the car, because I obviously knew that I wouldn't need a rod rest out here. But again, if plans change, I've always got a rod rest. I could have changed venues. I wanted to cover the pier because it's one of the piers I haven't covered. Another little tip worth remembering is when you're out on piers, or anywhere else really for that matter, just make sure things like your car keys are all zipped away in a nice safe pocket. There is some small gaps in the woodwork here. I'm not saying my car keys would fall down there, but it's always best to know that they're secure. If you're leaning over or something, they're not going to fall out your pocket and you'll lose them. Things like baiting needles, scissors and things like that could easily fall down through the gaps. So just make sure any kit you've got is secure. It only takes a little gust of wind and you can lose it over the side. That includes your bait as well, and anything else you've got lying around. Try and keep it all neat and tidy. Right, I just had my First little indication on there, a couple of little taps. Yeah, there it goes. So it looks like something's took an interest into one of my baits. It's tapping away now, so I'm going to get that in and see what that is. I might also change to a plain lead. Alright. I'm not sure there's anything on there. That was quite heavy at first with the grip wires. Potentially there's something small on there. What we got? No, it's empty. Definitely a bite, which is encouraging. So yeah, I'll quickly whip that off, and what I'll probably try and do is change that lead for one of my hybrid types. I don't think we're going to need that grip lead at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a lot of tide. It might just improve things if there's a little bit of movement, maybe. So the next two bits are going out. A little bit of black tip with the squid and a straight bit of mackerel strip on the other one. So again, over the pier, push that out there. Feel it hit the bottom. Tuck the rod in and tighten up. A proper bite, that one. A proper rattle. That's got to be a fish, he says. Amazing how many times that happens. That stops when you get up there. Definite bite, that one. Nothing on there. It's going to have to be tiny little fish, I think, doing that. We'll just see which bait it got attacked. Oh, there is a little fish on there. A little whiting. No surprise there, really. Straight off. Little blank saver. No surprise there, really. Let's put him back. That's the only thing. I've got a bit of a drop here, but he went. Yep. Right. But if there's whiting about, no question that'll be taken at some point. Right, let's get that back out. Blank out of the way. I've just poured a cup of coffee and that's wanged over that tip. Only the once though. Hasn't continued yet. Let's try and finish my coffee. I don't know how this is coming across, but it's a fairly grey old day today. We've got grey skies, grey seas, grey everything. And as the morning's gone on, that wind's picking up a little bit more each hour. Been here just over an hour now. And it's definitely getting colder. The forecast is for colder weather later in the week, and even maybe a bit of sleet and snow again. Fingers crossed we don't get that. I don't think that fish hooked itself, but what I'm going to do is just going to tighten up to the lead. As it's a plain lead, I might be slack. Yeah, it's slack. There's a fish on there. Oh, it's a nice big pull down and drop back. what we've got this time, slightly better whiting. Only just slightly better, but that's what gave me the drop back. Nicely lip hooked, and again that's took that threaded lug with a little bit of fish. Mint condition, that one. See if we can get him back. Yep. If they normally get their head down and dive in head first, they go straight back. They hit side on. It tends to stun them a bit and they float off. Right. I'm going to change the top bait as well this time. That straight fish hasn't gone, surprisingly. So that was a piece of squid, not fish, on the tipper. So that's what I'll put on the top hook, and I'll put a straight bit of worm on the other hook. Let's see how that pans out. Try and get this done before my coffee gets cold. So what I'll do is just weave that on, hook it, turn it, hook it, turn it, all the way up the length of the black. That weaves it onto the hook, so you get to the very bottom, and then I slide the rest of the worm up just above the shank where I've got a fairly long tag end sticking out, and that will hold the bait in place. And then just tip it with a little strip of squid. Top hook, virtually the same. What I might do though, on that top hook, is leave that bait dangling off a bit. So it's the same thing, whip it on. Three or four times. But this time I'm just going to leave a little bit hanging. Slide it again above the eye, and I'll just hold it in place. So it'd be interesting to see if I get another bite and another fish, whether it comes to that bottom hook, because both the fish I've had so far have come on that bottom hook. It doesn't look like the top hook's been touched whatsoever. The bait's been intact each time. Now, bearing in mind the elevation I've got fishing from up here on the pier, the angle, there it goes again, another little tap. Potentially that top hook is flapping around well off the bottom. See, I don't quite know how that line lays with the distance I'm fishing away from the pier, but I would have thought at this angle it's going to be off the bottom, that top hook. So yeah, it'd be very interesting if we get another fish, if it comes on that bottom hook, and then you can see a bite developing there. Little taps. Once we get a few little taps like that, what I'll do is get up and have a look, see if the line's gone slack, because the tide is actually coming towards me, if you like, today. Flooding, it comes from left to right, so it's coming towards me. So any dislodged fish, slack line the rod. It's still got a bit of tension on it at the moment. Last time there was a big loop in it, but you see, there it is going. So let's have a look. Yeah, a little something rattling on there. What hooks that on? Little digs now. Yeah, it's on the bottom hook again. So these fish are pinned right to the bottom. There you go. A chunky little whiting, undersized but chunky nevertheless. that one stuck it a little bit deeper than before, so I'll just use this little T-bar, and then that helps me pull it straight off. Another little whiting. Oh, that was perfect. We'll see. Same distance again. While I'm getting bites, there's no need to change anything. I'm not getting snagged. So as I mentioned just now, with the flood tide, it's literally coming towards the west side of the pier. So that's something you have to bear in mind again if you're fishing more or less straight down, that your gear's actually going to be swept underneath the pier. Now, as with most piers these days, there's always going to be a snag or two underneath the pier where stuff's been lost. I managed to hang over the side in the summer and have a good look, and there was quite a few of these kiddies crab nets all wrapped around the stanchions, and the sort of, as more went over and got caught up and broke off, it built a snag literally just below the water level. Bright orange and yellow nets, you could see them quite clearly, and if you went over there with any sort of hook or tried to retrieve your gear up, it'll push it underneath the pier and you'll snag all that lot up. So my advice is to always just fish away from the base of the pier unless you're prepared to lose a hook link or two, or worse. Now if you're fishing on the other side of the pier, the east side today, the flow will be taking you away from the pier, so you can potentially fish a little bit closer. I think it's quite a reasonably small tide today, so there's not a lot of pull at all. So you can look down sometimes at the stanchions and you can see it tearing through, and you can see basically the force of the current on the pillars of the pier. Well, that's the longest it's been out without a bite, so I'm just going to bring it in. That's because I mentioned 3 fish in 4 casts, isn't it? Line looks okay, don't look too slack. There might be something on there. Yeah, there is a little fish rattling on there. Obviously you might have missed that. Surprise, surprise, it's on that bottom hook again. Oh, it's just dropped off. It was on the bottom hook, as you can see. It wasn't properly hooked though. It's not actually panning out too bad with this longer rod. If you're fishing down the side of the pier, you've obviously got to be very careful of overhead casting, especially if there's people about. And sometimes it's best to just hang it over the side and do an underarm flick. On here, you've got the option of this channel here where there's no one can get in the way. So I can lower the lead down in there and then flick it over the top. No risk to anyone. I've had a couple of little taps on that now, so I'm going to give it a check. It doesn't look like a full-blown bite. But as I say, with the lack of tide, they're probably just going to be sitting on the bait. Black tip of squid on the bottom. And let's put a whole little mini squid head on the top. See what that does. Make sure the hook point's sticking right out. There you go, it's nice and sharp still. Good dogfish bait when they're here, a whole squid head. Don't expect to get one of those today, to be honest. Right, back out to the original area. Just as I said that, I got my first bite. For a while anyway. There it goes. Tap, 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 tap. And it's slack, yeah, that's slacking me off. Fish on. I wonder if I could have got away with my little river feeder rod on here today. That would have been quite good fun. Not quite sure how the tide was going to be today. It feels slightly bigger. It is slightly bigger. Oh, it's two. Got a little rockling on there as well. But the whiting is of a decent size, to be fair. That's potentially a keeper. And the old rocklings took the squid head. What about that? A little slug. Little 5-bearded rockling, that one. Well, that was a bit of a bonus. The little rockling I had there was actually a 5-bearded, and I needed it for my species hunt. I've already had a 3-bearded, that was definitely a 5. And I took a couple of photographs to show. So that's a little bit of a bonus for today. Didn't expect to get any new species, but there you go, just shows you. It's made the trip even more worthwhile. Right, time is now 11:30. That's right, we've been fishing 3 hours. The bites have definitely tailed off in the last hour. I had a couple of little knocks on this earlier. Yes, I'd say there's a fish on there. This was in a lot closer as well this time, if you remember. Maybe not. Yeah, there is a little something on there. Oh, another species. There you go. Tiny little dab. That would have been the knock I had 10 minutes ago. It's in good condition as well for a dab. So the third species of the day, tiny little dab. I'm probably going to have one more cast and then call it quits. Okay, so this is going to be my last cast. It's now coming up to about 11:45. Not done too bad. Handful of whiting, little rockling and a dab. Probably what I expected this morning, to be fair. But today's session was always just to give you a general idea of the layout of the pier, the parking and the access, etc. Next time I'll probably be on this pier will be an early morning session, probably in late spring, early summer. I might try and do a video on catching these wrasse from underneath the pier. There we go. That's a little drop back. Tipped, flicked up. Let's just see if it's slacked me. Yes, the line's come right slack. So I'll say there's a fish there. And yes, there's a fish. Let's feel a little tapping on the tip. What have I got? There you go. Ping him off. And that's going to be the last one for today. It's just a little undersized whiting. Shame I couldn't get one to go with the other one, but that's big enough for some goujons. We'll get this little fella back and get packed up on the way. So if you got this far, thank you very much for watching. And I'd hope I'll get a few more videos out a bit quicker than the last one. Take care, and I'll see you all soon. one thing I forgot to mention when I was down there is that Pavilion Theatre, they've got a big indoor seated cafe this time of the year. Plenty of seats in there, and they're also dog friendly. So if you want to bring your hound with you, which I normally do, you can get in there and have a nice warm cup of coffee or tea or something. That's worth remembering.